Hello, my karmically connected friend. Have you ever wondered why just one unintentional remark from someone has such a tremendous power to ruin an otherwise happy day? Sometimes it is not even a major scolding or a fierce argument. It might simply be a casual comment, a tone of voice colder than usual, or even a text message that shows the seen status but never gets a reply. These seemingly minor things are like tiny needle pricks, sneaking into the mind and stirring up our peace. Instead of letting it pass, our mind has a habit of replaying that moment like a broken tape. We lie awake, tossing and turning, analyzing every glance, dissecting every meaning, and tormenting ourselves with thousands of why questions. I call these silent sufferings, a kind of wound that does not bleed, but leaves our heart heavy and drains our vital energy. But dear friend, there is one liberating truth we need to realize. The real pain does not come from the external world, nor does it come from the person who said the words. It comes from how our mind receives, embraces, and interprets that story in a way that causes us harm. The Buddha, the great master of awakening, profoundly understood this psychological mechanism of humans thousands of years ago. He left behind priceless spiritual remedies to help us build an inner world as firm as a rock mountain, no longer easily swayed by the winds of praise and blame from the world. Today, let us delve into 5 of the most practical teachings of Buddhism to learn how to stop taking everything personally and reclaim the inherent sovereignty over the peace in your soul. Teaching 1. It's not about you. The first and most important lesson for liberating yourself. Understand that the way others treat you often reflects their inner world more than your own worth. In the teachings of karma and dependent origination, the Buddha taught that every action and word stems from deep-seated seeds in the consciousness. When someone speaks harshly, judges, or is cold, it is often when they are projecting their own pain, fear, or stress outward. Try looking deeply into the situations you have encountered. Someone who has been betrayed too many times will carry a lens of suspicion to view even genuine kindness. That is their wound, not your fault. Someone who is drowning in stress and deadlock, their words will become sharp as a knife. That is their helplessness, not your weakness. Someone who always feels insecure about themselves often tends to belittle others to feel superior. When you understand this, the next time someone acts disrespectfully, instead of blaming yourself, ask, is this really about me, or is this their pain speaking? True freedom appears when you stop accepting the negative gifts that do not belong to you. This does not mean you accept being trampled by others, but that you refuse to let your soul bleed from the shards of someone else's wound. Return the emotional burden to where it originated, and keep your mind light. Teaching 2. The story the mind invents. We often think we are suffering because of reality, but the Buddha pointed out, most of our suffering is caused by the story. The mind weaves around that reality. The human mind is a storyteller, a talented but biased narrator. It constantly tries to fill the gaps with fears and old memories. For example, the actual event is simply, your friend hasn't replied to your message. That is a neutral event. But immediately, your mind writes a tragic script. They must hate me now. Did I say something wrong? I am so annoying. Or, they are looking down on me. Look, the event is brief, but the story in your head is long, drawn out, and full of pain. You suffer not because the message hasn't arrived, but because the thought, I am hated, is torturing your heart. To escape this trap, you need to practice mindfulness, clear awareness. When a negative thought arises, separate it and label it. This is a thought, not this is the truth. Ask yourself these two questions to break the illusion. Is this what is actually happening before my eyes? Or is this just the story my mind is telling? It is like walking past an acquaintance who doesn't smile back. The mind might say they are arrogant, but the truth could be they are preoccupied with thought. They forgot their glasses, or they are having a sad day. One event, but the mind can create three different worlds. There is a beautiful saying, the greatest prison is the one we build with our thoughts. Step out of that prison by seeing things exactly as they are. Teaching 3. The power of non-reaction. In Buddhist scriptures, there is a classic story about non-reaction. One day, an angry Brahmin man sought out the Buddha and insulted him terribly. The Buddha simply listened in silence. When the man was tired and stopped, the Buddha gently asked, "Sir, if you buy a gift and offer it to someone, but that person does not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "Of course, it still belongs to me." The Buddha smiled. "It is the same with this. You brought anger and insults here, but I do not accept them. Therefore, that anger returns to belong to you." The lesson here is profoundly deep. We are not obligated to pick up everything others throw at us. Suffering often comes not because others attack, but because we willingly pick up that hot coal, hold it tightly, analyze it, and identify with it. The Buddha taught us to distinguish between reactivity and response. Reactivity is when someone insults, and you immediately insult back. That is being a slave to emotion. Response is when you take a pause. Practice the technique. Pause, breathe, observe. When anger strikes, stop for 3 seconds. Take a deep breath. Observe your body. Heart is racing. Chest is tightening. The mind wants to retaliate. Just observe without acting. Imagine you are a mountain. The wind and storm may howl around you. People may throw stones at the mountain's base. If you catch the stone, you will bleed. If you let the stone fall to the ground, you remain the majestic, peaceful mountain. The Buddha taught, hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. Not reacting mindlessly is not weakness or submissiveness. On the contrary, it is immense inner strength, the strength not to be drawn into the emotional storm of others. Teaching 4. Let go of the ego that is trying to protect itself. Have you ever asked yourself, why can a criticism hurt us like a knife cut? Why do we react so fiercely when someone calls us lazy, incompetent, or mean? It is because that statement has touched the image of the ego that we are painstakingly building and protecting. We hurt because we believe that I am a hard-working person, I am an intelligent person. When that label is stripped away, we feel as if our very existence is threatened. But the core teaching of Buddhism is non-self, anatta. The Buddha taught that there is no fixed, permanent, and unchanging self. Our being, our personality, and our views are constantly changing with the flow of time. What we are fighting to protect is actually just a story, a collection of temporary labels. When you truly grasp non-self, you will feel immense relief. If someone criticizes you, practice by self-inquiring. Do I need to cling to this label? Is their statement the absolute truth, or just their limited perspective at this moment? There is a very poignant saying, when there is no I, there is no wound. Absolute freedom comes when you no longer feel the need to prove who you are to the whole world. When you are no longer a rigid target board, the arrows of praise and blame will simply fly through the empty space and fall to the ground, with nothing left to pierce. Loosen your clinging to the ego. Do not let self-esteem become the prison that confines your peace. Teaching 5. Respond with compassion, not ego. When you have understood that others' actions stem from their pain, and you have let go of the defensive ego, you step up to a higher level of spiritual maturity. Compassion, metta. At this point, when you look at the person attacking you, you no longer see a hateful enemy, but you see a suffering person who is worthy of pity. Because a person who is genuinely peaceful and happy will never feel the need to insult anyone. A person with a complete inner world does not need to make others feel small in order for themselves to feel bigger. Every emotional arrow fired originates from a bleeding inner world. Compassion is not weakness or resignation. It is a type of spiritual strength. Instead of mirroring their negative energy, you uplift it and dissolve it. Practice this in your mind. When facing someone who is difficult, quietly affirm this mantra in your head. May you be free from the suffering that is tormenting your heart. May you find peace. You do not need to say it out loud. Just hold this attitude in your heart. It acts like an invisible shield protecting your heart from resentment. When you generate compassion, anger has no place left to dwell. Remember, we cannot change others, but we can absolutely change how we relate to them. Instead of being dragged into the muddy swamp of argument, stand on the bank and extend a branch of understanding. Freedom begins when we are no longer pulled into others' emotional battles. That is when you stop take things personally and start take things compassionately, receiving everything with compassion. Life is already complex enough. Do not turn your soul into an emotional trash bin for others to dump their negative energy. Remember the 5 keys we reviewed today. 1. Others' words reflect their pain, not your worth. 2. Do not believe every dramatic story the mind invents. 3. Learn to pause and not react unconsciously. 4. Let go of the ego that is trying to protect labels. 5. And finally, use compassion to dissolve hatred. As a final reminder, peace begins the moment you stop taking things personally. Freedom does not come from life becoming easier or people becoming kinder. Freedom comes from you becoming firmer and more awakened in the face of change. If you find this video brings lightness to your soul, please leave a like and share it with those who are in need of healing. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so we can continue to accompany each other on the journey of letting go of afflictions and reclaiming balance. Thank you for listening. May your body and mind always be peaceful and steadfast.